There is no truth until you decide what truth is, and each person should find that truth out for his or herself.
You know what? Global family, look in the mirror. I want you to take a good look. You are the champion, the hero of your story. No matter how much praise you may give some of us who may help you on this journey, it is you who has to walk it. We are only a catalyst to help you see.
Tony, again, I give you accolades for, I don't even know what to say, for all the efforts, man, that you put in my behalf.
There is no truth until you decide what truth is.
It is you who has to walk it. We are only a catalyst to help you see.
Person should find that truth out for his or herself.
To help you see.
For his or herself.
All right. Greetings, everyone. Okay, so we are here, and we haven't had a Manifestation Wednesdays in quite a while. We are at episode number 9. And so I sent out a few notifications. There seems to be a common theme a bit when there are people who I even talk to on a regular basis who are very excited to be on the show. And then when it comes to the time or the date to actually be on the show, they disappear. In some cases, they tell me all type of weird stuff takes place, right? And it's kind of interesting that that happens. Many of you who have been out, well, first I'm going to put it in general terms, right? So some of you know that if you put out a manifestation or something that could really change your life in a positive way, some of you may have noticed a coincidence that takes place. And that is, once you put this thing out there, right, once you make it known, all of a sudden weird obstacles come up, right, that try to either sabotage or deter you from gaining, accepting, or moving into that manifestation. And so I noticed that happens a whole lot with this show, actually. And it's not a bad thing, actually. The people just have to work through it to do what they need to do. The same thing happened a lot in the beginning years when it came to the superhuman classes, because so many upgrades take place, because it's sacred information, right, that most people will never hear in their entire lifetime. And so many people, when they would come to the class, the typical class had anywhere from, let's say, 26 to about 40 people. And I will ask a question, for example, like, how was the travels of everyone getting here, right? And people would tell me all types of bizarre things that took place. Okay, I mean, this over and over again, to the point where even the most close-eyed person took notice. You know, they're like, what is this? This stuff never happens. And so it would happen back to back to back to back. And so it got to the point where, especially those who have been doing the work, where they just expect it and they just move around it, right? So it's not all the time about when a manifestation or an obstacle, let's take more of an obstacle, comes up. It's not about necessarily all the time hitting it head on when it comes to manifesting, right? Or if it comes to, again, an obstacle. It's not about a lot of times hitting it head on, okay? Because you're going to go through ups and downs with that. It's going to be potentially a battle with that. Sometimes it's about just moving to the side and letting it pass on through. And that could keep you on your journey, right? Some say, like, be like water, right? If it's fire, be like water, right? So that's interesting, because we're going to see quite a few people confirmed for tonight, even when I sent out the text message about 2 hours ago. And so I'm sitting here seeing if these people are on. And as of right now, it looks like none of them are on. So if you are if you can hear me and you actually confirm to be on tonight's show, then join the Zoom call. The Zoom information is in the chat room on YouTube. So use that information to connect to it, the call here. Okay, look like somebody there. Okay, I'm gonna unmute you. You had something to say? 4963.
All right, this is Michael Rogers. So I'm here. I'm just driving.
Okay, cool. Okay, so you're there. Okay, all right. So I'm gonna add you. It was actually a few people. I did see you sent a text message. There was actually a few people that had sent text messages before you, but it's meant for you to be on, because I don't see any of these people on at this time. So I will come to you first in a moment. All right. So, all right, everyone. So again, if you none of the people are on, that's very strange. So if you do want to, you have a concern or question as we go on tonight, join the Zoom information there, call on in, and then we can get going. You could also type that comment or question out in the chat room. Many of you know, when this show started today, we just went straight into it. But again, I'm going to backtrack here a little bit. I hope all of you all are doing well, and or if you're not doing as well, that you are making strides to do better within your space and time. I always have to mention time. There's only 1,440 minutes in a day. No matter what your belief system is or who you may pray to, you are not going to get even 1 minute added to your life. So use your time wisely. I hope you also have your favorite beverage of choice tonight as we have our conversation. My beverage is just some water. I just got through eating some right before the show started. Some Indian food, some chana masala, which is just chickpeas and a nice blend of spices and herbs and all that stuff, and some samosas. So it was tasty for what it is. And so that's what I had. So I just have some water at this point. And so I do hope you have your favorite beverage of choice as we begin our conversation here. So many of you are a part of the email list. And in that email list, in one of the latest ones, I sent out a poll. And it was asking random questions. And I'm really appreciative of those of you, which is many of you, who did take the time to do that poll. Because many of you know, like every year we would send out like 1 or 2 polls, right? And we typically always do one at this point around this time of the year, based on the questions asked tend to surround around your general well-being, but also what is on your mind, also any particular things going on around us, like we obviously know what's going on around us, right? And so some questions concerning that. It would take you maybe 2 to 3 minutes to do it, not much time at all. So deeply appreciated, and appreciation from me and those at the Meta Center for those of you who did take the time to do that, right? Because it allows us to really see, because it's anonymous. We don't know who you are. So you could type anything there, right? And so it allows people to be open and honest what's really going on. And many of you have shared many heartfelt things within that poll. And so we're going to be going through a lot of that data to provide, of course, as usual, more thought forms for you all to help those maybe in certain situations and everything else that keep popping up in that poll. But also other types of thought forms, positive thought forms that can help in one way or another, right? Even if it's just very specific advice concerning very specific situations. So I do appreciate it again. Thank you all for taking the time to do that. So if you have not done it in your email, if you are part of our newsletter, you would have seen the link is in that email. Click on it so you can be able to do it. For those who may have it up, who do listen, if you do have the link to that poll, you could post it in the YouTube chat. So those who may not have been a part of it at all can click on it and do it, because I don't think I have it up right now. But I'm going to try to bring it up while we are speaking. So what else here? There's something that I've been working on behind the scenes for the last month. And many of you know we went to space, literally, right? And some exclusive footage of that is going to be shown at the March event. And many of you know the many different topics that will be shown at the March event. And so what I'm going to do is, right before I even get into this new topic that will be shown, I'm going to play the advertisement for the March event here. So one moment. Okay, so the deadline for the March event is January 11th, so be very much aware of that. January 11th is the deadline. There's no exceptions to that. So, yes, 2 weeks from now, okay, if you're going to come to Chicago. It's a one-day event only, and it's going to be packed from front to back, right? But there's been something I've been working on behind the scenes, and it deals with food production. Okay, and so about time the event happens, the first harvest will have been had at that point, and then from that point, continual harvest will take place. And there's a reason for this. And so those who are coming to the March event, you're going to get exclusive first access to seeing all the particulars about it. You're going to see why it was done in the first place. And I'm going to, of course, since it's a private event, answer any questions you have concerning that, but also how to show you how to do it. Okay. Then eventually, when it comes to the global audience, I will eventually be showing it on YouTube as well. But that will come in some time and stuff like that. So with that, that's why behind the scenes I've been working on food production, because there's a major reason for it. And so we're going to potentially get into a little bit of that during tonight's call. If not during tonight's call, then we will be doing it. We will have an open lines call, which is about any topic that's on your mind, which I'll be going over some of the concerns of the poll and how some of you feel. Okay. And so that will be in the next week or week and a half or so. Okay. So between now and in the next week, we'll have that open line. So just stay aware of that, be aware of that. So when you see that Zoom call, the information for it, you can call in so that we all can have our conversation. All right. So let's see here. Okay. So I'm looking here. I do see you there as well, Rick. So it looks like we got 2 people here. Yep. Thank you, Maricela. So Maricela, in the YouTube side, she posted the link to the poll. So if you do have time to take it, it would be appreciative. Only take it one time. You don't have to take it a bunch of times. We do see it, and I do look at everything that's inputted there. So do appreciate it. And so let's continue on here. So let's get straight into it. One moment here. Okay. So let us begin. According to the Christian Bible, within Genesis, in the beginning, in this space, there was an entity. For simplicity, let's call this entity God. This God created heaven and earth. And through this process, this God stated a few things. One of them was, let there be light. And the outcome of which, there was light. The word. Spoken words are a melody of vibration. A clashing of frequencies, when spoke, bring about certain changes. These changes can be as major as creating a world, or as minor as ordering your meal in the drive-thru of your favorite restaurant. Words are made up of letters. These letters each have a meaning and a sound. When you combine together these letters that each individually have a meaning and a sound, you create a word. When you string together words, you have a sentence. When multiple sentences are flowing between 2 or more people, this is called a conversation. As we begin our conversation tonight, as it springs together because of a word. So, what we're going to do here, one moment here. So I'm also going to put that link to the poll in the Zoom side as well. All right. Oh, okay. Actually, it kind of came through kind of weird. One moment here. Okay, so the first caller tonight is going to be Michael. So give me one moment, Mike. All right. So, Mike, you could unmute your phone. Okay. Excellent. Can you hear me okay, Mike?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Can't hear you. Yes. Okay. Just for the sake of clarity here, what state are you calling from? If you're talking now, I cannot hear you.
I'm from Wisconsin.
Okay, Wisconsin. Okay, cool. All right, so Mike from Wisconsin. So what is your, you were on the show previously, or at least had a conversation on the show previously. And of course, I know who you are. So what brings you on the show tonight?
Basically, just want to just get into a nice rhythm and perfecting, manifesting things into my life that I want to see happen, or where I want to be. So
Okay.
kind of manage. So like I got a couple of little home-based businesses that I want to be at the top of the income list. There, the word just elude me right now, but when you make it to the top, where you like one of the top earners.
Okay.
So I got I'm a travel agent, so I want to be at the top of that. And then I got a MWR home-based business where it helps a lot of people with their jobs that had a house bills reduced, bring more money home on their check, pay less taxes. So it does all of that. So I just want to get to the top of that.
Well, things like that are really, it's not difficult, meaning that if you put in the work, you get the results. You understand what I'm saying, Mike?
Yeah, got you.
So stuff like that is a little bit more straightforward, where if you put in the work, you go to networking events, which right now is not really that type of situation happening a lot of times because of what's going on. But making sure you up before everybody. So let's say up before sunrise, right? And you're doing those things that need to be done to whether it be catching up on emails or catching up on reading material that to make you more knowledgeable of the path that you are on. You get what I'm saying? To stay ahead of your competition, whether it be sending out marketing emails, whether it be buying Facebook advertisements, whether it be buying YouTube or other types of advertisements to be more in front of your potential customer base. Most of those things that's more so straightforward. You get what I'm saying? And if you put in the work, yes, it may be tiring over time, of course, but still, if you put in the work constantly every day, you keep doing what you're doing, depending upon what kind of, it's going to, the doors will open based on, but of course, people, of course, have to, because before you were on, you were talking about a certain business. I don't recall the business though, but the conversation went that it was a very interesting business to try to be in right now based on the times we're in. What was that business that you were mentioning?
It probably was MWR. It probably was the second business that I spoke of.
Okay.
But okay. I had, it probably was that home-based business that I was speaking of.
Okay. Yeah, I don't recall 100% what that business was, but nevertheless, if you keep pushing forward, doing what you're doing, will you? Go ahead.
I had some people in, and then a lot of people kind of just, I guess, like you said, the times. So with all this COVID and Marion, and a lot of people just don't have time, or they, so I had people that signed up and joined, and then eventually they just kind of faded away, and then just bailed out.
Any type of business where you are dependent on the work ethic or the energetic push of others, many times than not, many times than not, doesn't mean that a person can't be successful in it as an individual, but many times than not, it's going to be a lot of disappointment as you work your way to be a successful individual in it. You get what I'm saying?
Right, I got
because most people are just they don't have a certain work ethic at all. If they don't have a boss over them, or a person holding a whip over them, literally whipping them into doing things a certain way or pushing forward a certain way, and it's literally up to their own device, they're not going to do anything. You know what I'm saying? Or they're going to work so slow that nothing gets done. Right?
Right, and if they don't see the results, then they it's pretty much they got it like you telling me. I just got to do the work and keep doing the work. And the same thing happens. Whoever signed up, they can't be playing. They got to do the work.
And so that's why in these times, for those of you out there who are listening, these are important times where if you are a person who is self-powered, right? Your internal vortex is powered up. You don't need someone to tell you you can do it for you to do it, right? You know what you need to do. You'll get up and do it. No one has to say literally anything to you at all, and you're getting the work done. Okay. And if you can't find, let's say it's a group kind of effort you're trying to do, if you can't find people who are just like you literally, and you know this for a fact, more times than not, you may be better off alone, just because you will get much more done being alone than having to sit behind, baby, and chase behind people who just do not have that type of energy as you do. Okay, so just a FYI there for those listening. Okay, well, for now, we're gonna see how it goes, Mike. But I will swing back to you because it looks like we don't have a lot of people on tonight. So I'll end up swinging back around if anything else is of concern.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So, all right. So, Rick, you can unmute Rick. Let's see here. And again, we had about 7 people who were supposed to be on tonight. This is not including Mike, who just got off from Wisconsin, and Rick, who's here. We have 7 other people, and none of them are on. So I find that to be a little bit fascinating. So,
Mike check.
There you go. How you doing, Rick?
I'm doing great, sir. How you doing?
I'm all right. So just for the audience's sake, for clarity, where are you calling from, Rick?
I'm calling from Houston, Texas.
Okay, excellent. I meant to say this is state, but it's cool. All right, so what brings you on tonight?
Oh, man. Actually, it was quite a couple of things, and it's kind of funny that you mentioned about the meditation. When I saw that, and I said, yeah, I want to get on. But it was several things I had earlier that I actually was going to email you about, and that was the form of meditation itself, and the unexpected things you get out of those that meditation as you begin to do it more and more, and doing different techniques on doing meditation. Because I remember early on when you first mentioned, you can meditate all kinds of ways, even with your eyes open. Matter of fact, I'm even meditating as I speak to you guys right now. And it kind of dawned on me because I found myself doing that a lot. Meditating in a process of, I might be doing something, working with electronics or something, and that glaze goes over me as I'm doing it, and I'm falling into it, and now I'm concentrating on that quietness in my breath. One of the questions I wanted to ask was, is it me, or there are things that comes along as you keep going on, like say for instance, sensory. You know, your perception of sensory. It seems like it changes. That's one of my questions anyway. And I was looking at something else too. It so happens like when you start focus on it and start thinking about it more, then you have things pop up through your way. Like I'm in the middle of turning a channel, and then I just switched to YouTube, and then all of a sudden, there's a monk on my channel with their regimen of what meditation, you know. And so I wonder if you can kind of collaborate on that as far as in the sensory part.
Okay, so
and the regimen.
Okay, so when it comes to meditation, that's one of the many things that it does when a person meditates over time. Their senses, like for example, become more sensitive. Okay, I mean, even literally, physically, literally. Okay, where they may their hearing, for example, may become where they're just able to hear a little bit more, or when they see things, they're really seeing or catching glimpses of things that they never really caught before, and they can even ask themselves like, "Well, I never seen that before," and it's been right there in my face the entire time, right? Sometimes when it comes to nuance, like in conversations that they typically have, they start finding where they're able to pick up on or notice certain nuance is about just within conversations that they just never have done previously before that. Okay, so there's a multitude of benefits besides just the peaceful aspect, just the being calm aspect, just being the stress relief aspect that meditation does provide. It provides all types of, it can enhance one's gift. Some of the enhance one's gifts by doing, do I need to do all this and do that? You don't need to do anything at all, just constant and consistent meditation. Yes, there are other forms of meditation that could be used and are used to be more pinpointed in enhancing certain abilities within a person. That person may only do every once in a while because they don't need to even be done for a long period of time. But when it comes to a person will still have access to that just by even doing the basic meditations that we're currently doing on Sundays right now. Okay, and of course there's many more meditations that we will be, or deeper forms of meditation that we will be getting into in time on that Sunday meditation. So for now, for example, we first started off just with focusing on the breath, right? To get people just to focus on the breath only, because what do people typically do? When they go into meditation, they actually focus on the music, or they focus on the ambience, okay, around them, versus, which those are things you should not be focusing on at all during meditation, okay? Those are external factors, and they distract from the internal peace in the subtleness that happens within you. So focusing on the breath, which is your whole is your internal wind, okay, it tends to bring about a certain peaceful and calmness state, because it allows one to go deep because it's a rhythmic way to it, okay? And so it puts you in your own rhythm versus a rhythm of some type of external music created by who knows who, even if it sounds nice, okay?
Right.
Okay, now from that point, of course, we did that for about a month and a half, and now we moved on to one aspect of visualization, right? So now we're visualizing a sunset or sunrise, right? And whatever splendor that you want, whether this is a clear sunset or sunrise, whether it's clouds in the sky, whether it's mountains in the background, whether whatever, you know what I'm saying? And so that's where we're at now, but there's going to be many other exercises we will be doing in time.
Gotcha. Because I wanted to know, because as I keep developing or growing in my knowingness, because it's like certain things come up and I'm like I'm shocked when they happen. Like I said about the sensory part, and I was like, I'll be with my wife sometimes. I'm like, can you hear that? Can you hear that? Like, what? And I was like, okay. And then like 2 months ago, I started being able to even just hear my heartbeat, just being still, and I can hear my heartbeat. And like that freaked me out so bad because I'm thinking, but then I realized what was going on, and that's like, wow. But it will fade in too. It was like, okay, then it'll fade out. But then when I'm going back into, because when I do my meditation, I get into a quiet place, and it's normally like a sanctuary place where I go to and quiet, and I'll lay down with it. Sometimes I sit up, lay down with it, and just nothing but quietness. And I have my patch on over my eyes, so I have that darkness, and I just drift into my deep breathing until I reach a point where I no longer feel my body is just feel like it's floating. So once I reach that point, it's like, and that's where the first time I heard my heartbeat, which was kind of crazy too at the same time. But yeah, it's things like that. And then when I again ran across that episode, and I was trying to understand, okay, what is the dynamic? But like you said before, it's one of those. I get it now because it's a focused ability type of meditation. I get it now. Appreciate it.
Most certainly. And there's different forms of meditation. Right now, publicly, obviously, on the Sunday meditation, we're going through certain forms which will allow certain progress later. Okay, and right now, like the visualization that's a form of focus. Okay, the focusing on your breath, again, is another form of focus. But then there are meditations where it's about no focus, right? This is about about the openness of just allowing things to be, right? And whatever happens just kind of happens. But right now, a lot more focus is needed, and these simple exercises will help to create more focus in just about everyone's life.
Gotcha. Appreciate it.
Likewise. Okay, so everyone, let's see here. All right, so those were two callers, which I do appreciate you all both coming in, Mike and Rick. But those weren't even the ones I said even scheduled for tonight. It was actually other ones. And so if you are listening on the YouTube side and it was meant for you to call in, or you want to be, or you just want to call in to ask a question or comment, you're welcome to do it now. Because remember, we're only on as long as you want us to be, right? So we're only on as long as you want us to be. So other than that, anyone in the Zoom side, if there's any comments or questions that come about, any observations that's coming about right now that you would like to speak on, unmute your phone. All right, so let's see here. Again, any comments, questions on the Zoom side, unmute your phone.
Greetings, everybody. Can you hear me, Tony?
Yep, I can hear you. Okay,
I did have a comment. I'm currently in Texas visiting with my family, and something that has been brought to my attention and also have noticed is one of my aunts. She is really, for lack of a better word, going kind of crazy. And I described it as psychotic, and my cousin agreed with me. So it's to that point even. And she always had like a little bit of issues before all this, but I feel like since COVID has happened, everything has been exacerbated, like times 100. And it's to the point where even my mom is moving out of the house because it's that bad. But I just, it's just really interesting to see happen and kind of weird at the same time, just because it is my aunt. And also like how my other family members are responding or are not responding, kind of ignoring the situation. As I mentioned earlier, one of my aunts is like kind of been sticking up, not kind of, she's been sticking up for my mom, while the other sisters and brother kind of just walk around the situation to, I don't know what they're trying to do, or like maybe they just ignore it, don't want to deal with it or what, but it's just very interesting to see happen right now, honestly.
Okay, so we actually gonna get into that. I appreciate that, Maricela.
Most definitely.
Okay, so and I do see Ovo in the YouTube side. You made a comment. I'm glad you made that comment as well, because I'm gonna get into that. And so, based on what Maricela just shared with us, all over the place, obviously people we know what's going on. It's creating lots of stress, right? Now, what people don't realize is a few things here. Now, I'm going to speak to the conditions specifically in this country, which is the United States. People are almost operating as if they have post-traumatic syndrome. Okay, they're spazzing out. I was reading a few studies that said that schizophrenia, what we call schizophrenia, other circles they call it demon possession, but let's stick more to what the psychiatrists would say. So schizophrenia can be brought on by stress, right? So if a person is already potentially predisposed to be schizophrenic, okay, high levels of stress can bring it on early. Okay, also drug use. Okay, so, and just overall anyway, high levels of stress can bring on mental issues of some sort, just in general. Okay, even if it's just a person becoming more angry and hostile, right? And aggressive. So we're seeing this all over the place. Combine that with the mask use. Even people like on the news, they may say, you're better off wearing double mask, right? And literally, as I'm driving around Chicago, I see people swerving in traffic and stuff like that. This is now a common thing, right? People just driving weird. And I will look at them. I purposely want to get this data, right? So I will look and see, oh, why are they acting like that? And they're in the car by themselves in their double or triple mask. That's going to be a problem, Paul. You're saying you are literally, your body, your brain needs oxygen, right? And you are limiting your oxygen to that high degree, there's going to be problems. But regardless of that, what the majority of America is experiencing now is actually what many so-called, I'm doing the air quotes, so-called minority communities have been experiencing for a long time. Okay, I'm talking about decades. Okay, of what could be considered post-traumatic stress syndrome. Okay, and the effects of that, the mental illnesses that brings on, and so on and so forth. So now what you're seeing is super noticeable now, right? You're going anywhere, whether you're going to Walmart or you're going to the grocery store or whatever, you're seeing people talking to themselves. You're seeing people just getting super angry and aggressive. You see people looking like they're just in a constant state of fright. Okay, which is what so-called, air quotes again, so-called minority communities, especially in the urban centers, have been acting like in some form or fashion for who knows how long, right? And so now the greater communities are experiencing this as a whole. So pretty much everybody now is experiencing it. Okay. And so that's what stress does. The difference though with this is that the stress is purely psychological versus the redlining, the COINTELPRO, and all the other nefarious things that directly were happening to so-called minority communities overall. Okay, it happened to other communities as well, but this makes a point, so it's very easy to see here. And so there was actually tons of action with the propaganda and the divisive and sinister behavior that was taking place and purposely against these minority communities. Where a lot of people we see today are, their job, they may have total job security, so their job is fine. Okay, they don't have to worry about getting the concoction injected into them. They don't have to worry about that either. So everything's actually in their world okay, but they're undergoing massive amounts of psychological stress just because somebody on the TV said it. And these are not children. We can understand if children are spazzing out. We can understand if teenagers are spazzing out. These are people who are adults, let's say 25, 30 plus. They've seen how the world operates, okay? And again, there's reasons for all of this, but we're going to paint a certain picture here first. And so, and they're spazzing out just because somebody got on TV and said something, saying they have to do something that they actually do not have to do at all. And it's causing such a schism within their mind that they are spazzing. All right. So overall, that's what you see, right, Marcella? But this is a deep thing though, right? So years ago, we're talking about almost 2 decades ago, right? So almost 20 years ago, when I was, I had a theory, let's just put it like that, okay, that something similar went on, which it did. We've talked about this in the Superhuman class to show pictures of this stuff and everything. But back then, it was more of a strong hunch, right? So this is in my early 20s. And so I'm like, something strange is going on here. And I want to ask those people who are 90 plus, okay? Ask them certain questions. So I purposely went out my way to find people, whether it be in senior citizen homes or whether it be out just as I'm at work or whatever, to ask them a question if they have the time, right? Many of them love to talk about nothing, okay? But then I asked some very specific questions. Like one of the questions was this. Back then in the 20s, what was going on? Just tell me what was going on around you. And so either two things happen. They, one, either parroted 100% the mainline narrative, where if you were to Google, how was life back then? It was slave plantations and this and that. They paint the perfect picture of that. That's number one. Or number two, they go mute. Like literally go mute. Like I would ask very specific questions like, okay, during that time, did you see cameras around, right? Was there video cameras around at that time? Now someone say video cameras around in the 20s. Yeah, I'm asking is it video camera because I had a hunch of something very specific, right? Because I had some evidence of some things, right? And so I'm asking some very specific questions. And so as I'm asking these questions that I'm not going to tell you to get into all right now, but as I was asking these questions, out of, let's say if I talked to 10 90 plus year olds at that time, 9 of them will go blank eyed, just like staring out into space and start mumbling stuff. You know, so like this, just telling like, oh, you're such a sweet child. This mumbling things that have nothing to do with what I asked at all. That happened 9 out of 10 times. And the one last time would just kind of look in a way and just walk away, right? So I've come to certain conclusions on certain things personally, right? That these are the same people. Now, you may agree with it or not. This is just my own personal observation. You could do this yourself. If you have anybody around you who is, at this point, it would be more closer to 100 or so plus. But if you can find someone 90 plus who's willing to talk to you at all, ask them, especially those who are into the mud flood, who are into the Tartaria information, who are into the old earth based information. Just ask them questions, not going super scientific, nothing like that, just based on their pure observation of what happened. What did they observe as they were growing up? And you report your results. But regardless of that, those same people, in my conclusion at this point, many of them, not all of them, of course, but many of them are the remnants of psychotropic trauma, just like the people today. They act no different than the people today at all. Like they have been psychically or psychologically abused, right? Just like now. First off, let's give a hand clap to you all who are staying focused, who even though things may be a little stressful, you see what's going on clearly. Yes, the situation that's being brought to you may stress you out, and we all get that. But still, you're able to see clearly what is taking place around you. Just think about how many people aren't able to see any of that. They think this is they literally, when these entities come on TV, they literally believe it. They believe every single thing that comes out their mouth. Like literally this is their father or their mother or their grandmother or something, or their brother or sister saying this. So thank the Creator. A hand clap to you for your resolve. And let's just give a moment here in silence just to thank the Creator for the ability to see, to be awoke to see, right? So let's give it a moment here. So just as a thank you to be able to see, to be like, to be able to see the demons, right? So with that, but in saying that, we see the people around us and we see how many of them don't have that strength, right? Many of their belief systems have failed them. Many of them even hope for death through even their belief systems. And we see this kind of blank-eyed behavior. That's the same exact behavior that I got from the 90-plus-year-olds. Okay? Exactly. There's no reason to act like that at all. Unless a person has been under psychological trauma and maybe some type of agreement, I'm going to say it one more time, some type of agreement in mass not to say anything. Now, some would say, how is that possible? Come on now. How can it be agreement not to say anything? Think about it. We have the police, we have FBI, we have the CIA, we have the NSA, we have many, we have the Mossad, which is the Israeli covert operations intelligence group. There are I'm not even talking about even the secret societies, right? So you got secret society, you have all these higher level intelligence operational mechanisms all around us, and you don't hear a peep pretty much from anyone. There's all types of secret, it doesn't say this means all diabolical, but you have all types of secret things taking place, even DARPA, which creates many types of technology. So you have all different types of secret technologies and secret agreements and secret behaviors that are taking place all around us in mass that may not be good for humanity at all, and no one is saying pretty much anything. So people can keep secrets now. Don't think they can't. Okay, and do not be fooled by mass psychosis where everyone just kind of flows into a certain direction, like something is taking over their mind. So going back to, because this is Manifestation Wednesdays. So going back to manifestation and manifesting, when you are able to see the masses being herded like that in different directions, again, if I were like my thing that I would say is that for those listeners here, those the worldwide community family who's part of the Meta Center and who has been for years and knows the positive thought forms we put forth, I would be thanking the Creator every single day when I awake, as I do, all day actually. Okay, but I would at least be doing that, because to be able to see clearly what is taking place. You may not have all the detailed secret answers, but you have enough to know you shouldn't go down that road there, and instead you should go down the other road over there. Okay. But putting this to manifesting, okay, you're able to see, because of that, you're able to see at the very beginning. You might not know everything. It's not about knowing everything, but you're able to see the negative thought forms and the negative paths that people are taking in mass overall, and you're just able to navigate around that or through that without necessarily coming to harm, because you see what's coming before it comes, because you've seen reality for really what it is. And that's also what meditation helps with. Meditation helps with seeing reality for what it is. It helps you do that. That's one of the symptoms or byproducts of meditation. The more you meditate, the more clear your vision of reality becomes. Yep. Regardless of the extraordinary abilities that may manifest, regardless of all of that, just being able to see reality for truly what it is. Now, it's not for the faint of heart. Okay? The reality that people see, some people may not be able to handle. That's why you were given that path and they were not given that path, because obviously if you're willing to put forth the work, you will end up seeing the reality clearer and clearer and clearer, which will be able to help you, your family, and your community. So Rick said in the YouTube side, on the Zoom side, the red pill, 100% reality. Yep. So with that, you're going to see people going back to the statements and comments Maricela had made. You're going to see many people acting in such a way like that. This mass psychosis, when many of us have become older. So mark my words here, everyone. Mark my words. When many of us become the 60, 70, 80-year-olds, the school books are going to mention something entirely different took place, where literally it's going to make you, if you have hair at that time, it's going to make you pull out your hair, because you know for a fact that did not take place the way it happened. Okay. This has happened many times before. So history is going to be totally rewritten as it's being rewritten in front of our eyes. And you will notice that when it comes to people's recollection of these times right now, it's going to be something totally different than the reality that you know for a fact took place. And they all going to believe that this other reality took place. Okay. Just like what I was getting from those 90-plus-year-olds. So with that, going on to a caller here in the chat room side here on YouTube. Okay, one person here, Ovo, said, yes, first off, Ovo said he made a comment, or she made a comment that like they have been hypnotized, 100%. But the comment that this person made previously was, let us talk about people getting sick all over the place. I'm glad that this person mentioned this, right? So, of course, okay, so first off, there's a few things that all of us, I'm sure, have noticed. Okay, let's do this in the chat room on both sides, in the chat room on Zoom and in the chat room on YouTube. If you have noticed since the jab has been mandated. So going back like about a year or so at this point, maybe a little over a year. In your area, have you noticed tons of job openings? Like I mean, just all over the place. If you notice that, hit 1 on your keypad. If you notice in your area there has been tons of job openings, I'm talking about from everything, not just like McDonald's, not just like Burger Kings and Wendy's and pizza places. I'm talking about like they have boards up saying we need managers now. So they're even hiring immediately for managerial positions. You never hear that. You don't come in and just be a manager for the most part. You know what I'm saying? Especially most of these businesses around. So again, if you on the YouTube side, if you have noticed that, hit 1 on your keypad. Hit 1 on your keypad. So while let's think about this, right? A lot of people on the Zoom side have hit 1, and people on the YouTube side are now hitting 1. This confirms something, right? People right now are looking for jobs. That's a fact. Okay. The propaganda will say that, oh, Americans just don't want to work. Man, come get out of here. People want to work. Okay. But the thing about it is that it's not enough people, almost it seems, to work. It's very strange, right? As people started to get the jab, as they say, right? As all over social media, even some of you with your bare eyes have seen people become fallen sick or ill or have died because of it. This is happening in mass. Now, is it a coincidence? Is it that once that started to be mandated and people all over the place started to get this experimental concoction, this experimental tincture from hell?
I'm singular. Now is your chance. Show them your power.
In the beginning, I'm going to show them the power. No worries. So with that, is it a coincidence at all that once the tincture from hell started to be instituted, we oh man. So as the tincture from hell started to be instituted, that mysteriously all these jobs start coming up saying that we need people now hired on the spot. Right. So even at many of the places I go to, right, whether it be the hardware store, whatever it may be, right, there's always been like a certain people there that have always been there. They're recognizable faces. And I was just telling a caller a few days ago that I noticed at the store I go to, they've hired the complete staff. Only person that's the same as the store manager. Everybody else is new. And typically this place is a place where you want people to have a certain level of knowledge. So none of the people hired have that level of knowledge at all. You ask them very basic questions about the department they're in. They don't pretty much know anything. They look on their phone, Googling some stuff on the spot, which is very odd. That's strange, right? And so this is how it is all over the place. Thank the Creator. Again, let's thank the Creator as usual and again about how even though it may be a little bit difficult, of course, even though you may be trying to figure it out, that you are awake enough to see this nonsense that is taking place. You know, as I mentioned to many of you know, I'm about to say right now, you heard it from me for years. Before any of this stuff started, you heard me say this almost 4 years ago, that it would be wise for people to combine forces. Okay, when I mean combine forces, mean that you live under the same roof and stuff like that. I'm not talking about you need to bring friends or family in that you don't get along with at all, or you are a certain, let's say you're a very clean person, and this person that you're bringing in is the complete opposite, is a very nasty person, doesn't clean at all. Well, yes, there's going to be conflict if that's the case. Okay, I'm not talking about those type of situations, but someone that you are compatible with, that you can live with under the same roof to lower expenses. Okay, so that you can still have the nice things like, of course, high-speed internet. We all like the internet and stuff like that, right? You can have those types of things like that, but it lowers your bills because, of course, the main bills in people's lives are typically their living, okay, their housing and food. Those tend to be some of the main expenses that people have. And so if you're able to cut that in half, that gives you more money in your pocket that you can use for other purposes. So this gets into what I created and are creating and working on right now. There's a secret project that I'm working on that deals with food production. And there's a reason for this. So many of you also know for the last few months, I've been asking the community, whether it be through email, whether it be through our podcast, that like, what is on your mind? What is your concerns? And even though the concerns that people have are important, and they do have, they do need to be addressed. I'll just put it like that. Like when we have our open call a week from now or so, there's many points that many of you have made in that poll that are very important and they need to be addressed. And so I hope many of you who did do the poll that you are on that call, because certain questions and comments can have answers to them and will be answered. But one of the things I've been, as many of you know, I've said this, that I've been looking for certain comments and or questions, right? Just to see overall, not only where the mind of the community is at, but also is anyone really paying attention to some very specific things. And so, which led me privately to work on this food production project that I'm working on. And the reason for that is this. I have mentioned on here even previously about inflation. Let me give you the basic of inflation, okay? It means that the money, let's say a loaf of bread, when you, let's say a loaf of bread a year ago cost you, let's just say $2, right? Now that same exact loaf of bread costs you $4. That's inflation, okay? Your dollar, or the ability of your buying power, has been weakened, which in a way is stealing your labor. Okay, it's stealing your labor because now it takes you to work more and you're gaining less. How they typically like to hide inflation is through, instead of raising the price up like that, which prices are rising all over the place for all different types of commodities. Okay, and so people are going to see just direct price increases in food. Okay, I'm talking about dangerous levels of price increases with food, which reason why I'm working on this secret project. Okay, but how they hide inflation at times is to decrease the amount of food that you get. So let's say, for example, at $2 for this loaf of bread, you got, let's just say, just to keep things simple, you got 100 slices. Okay, you got 100 slices for what did I say, $2. Okay, so 100 slices for $2, right? The price of this bread is still $2, but now you get only 75 slices. So even when you look at the package looks about the same, so you don't really notice, because who is actually taking the time to count each slice? But you did now get less slices for that same $2. So that's a more deceptive way of hiding inflation. Okay, so it's the same thing as if raising the price, because now you're getting less. The same thing. So if you notice, like certain beverages you may like, they may have had 16 ounces, now they went down to 12 ounces, but the price is the same. Again, that's trying to hide inflation. What this means is that, of course, your buying power, when you go to the store, you $100, let's say, used to buy you a big bag of groceries, 2-3 big bags of groceries, let's say. Now it only buys you 1 bag of groceries. Okay, so again, this is what has led to this secret project. So for those, even if you're not concerned about the metaphysical stuff, okay, some of you would be highly should should be highly interested in food and food production. I'm going to show you the secret project that I've been working on and perfecting. Even though I started to directly work on it, I mean like drill stuff and saw stuff over the last month or so. I've been working on schematics and kind of like drawing things and kind of going through it in my mind since about summertime. Okay, I just wasn't sure what way I wanted to do it, how I wanted to do it, where I wanted to do it at, and so on and so forth. So all that has been figured out, and so now it's the system is about 80% up right now. I have to do some fine tuning, so I have to order some more parts and stuff like that. And it's gonna be a super simple system for you to grow food. Real talk, right? So if you think about it, this is what you all support does. This is the reason why we send out the polls. This is the reason why those here and pay attention to what's going on in the community. This is the reason why I'm always asking you all, like, what is on your mind? Okay, or what are you thinking about? All these other things, right? Because there are people sitting here actually thinking, actually saying, and paying attention to the world around us, right? So that's the thing about it. In being awakened, right? There's levels to being awake, okay? But being awakened enough where people who are listening to my voice right now, that you can see the nonsense that is happening around us, clear as day, right? You're like, no, man, this is, no, I ain't going for any of this, right? You can see the hopelessness within the people. You can see people who you thought were strong, but who are not strong at all. You can see people who say one thing, but then they fold under the pressure just because somebody on TV tells them to fold. They fold, right? You see all of this, and you may have thought less of yourself, okay? You may have thought that you were not as strong as you were. But then you see many people around you folding, and you're like, what? Maybe people who you didn't think would fold, or people that you just thought they were, for whatever reason, more than you, and yet you're sitting here standing strong, right? So for you to pay attention and be able to see that and be standing strong within that, there may be some type of real business, since sometimes people come on and talk about business like that, opportunity for you to kind of move into, right? Which may do two things. It could potentially help you take care of yourself, number one, right? So you can help him bring in resources, okay? Because it's going to become a time at this point, as things continue to keep potentially going in the same direction. If it keeps continuing on, there's going to be a time where people may not be able to pay you directly with money, but they could pay you with other tangible goods, okay? Stuff like that, right? So it could still lead to you being able to take care of yourself, being able to take care of your family, but also the added benefit for a soul such as yourself, which is you're getting the good vibes, the good energy, because you are actually helping others, right? So you're able to get a bit of both. So keep paying attention, keep looking, be cautious of those types of endeavors that make you dependent on others. Okay, you don't want to be in a business that you are dependent on others for your success. Okay, because think about, people are what we call tweaking, right? So if these people are tweaking, they don't have the same resolve that you have mentally, then of course you're going to have to deal with them tweaking. So you want to be careful the type of businesses and things you get into, unless you know for a fact that people who you are dealing with are of sound mind. Okay. What else here? What else? So while I'm thinking here for a moment, if there's any comments or questions, either on the Zoom side, come on in. On the YouTube side, type it out if that's the case. In a moment here, I'm going to just play another advertisement, and then we will continue on. All right, so here we go.
Hello.
Okay, so you someone's there. Okay, who? Let's see.
Yeah, it's Michael.
Okay, yeah, I see you, Mike. Okay, so What brings you on again, Mike?
Pertaining to this COVID, all this crap, I knew it's a bunch. You can tell it's a bunch of BS because they taking your freedom of speech away. So they cutting videos off on YouTube, so you can't say certain words. You got to use certain phrases just not to say a word. But I thought we had freedom of speech. So for them to censor people because they wanna put their propaganda out. So as long as they can put out what they want to put out, and then when other people try to speak on it, they want to censor it. So that's why I knew right then and there that it was a bunch of crap.
There it is. Mm-hmm. Was it just a comment, or is there anything else you'd like to say?
Yeah, no, it was just more of a comment. That was just my stance on it. I mean, you don't really know if it's COVID, because they get to control everything. You don't know what they're doing to your loved ones in the hospital. If somebody going there because you can't come in there, then they end up dying, so you don't know what they did or didn't do. So they just, I guess they want to keep people. No, they just want to keep people fearful.
Mm-hmm. Well, I thank you for sharing, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And what Mike said there is 100% true. I've had a family member myself go in, pass away. Actually, was terminally ill anyway. Okay, and so went in, passed away. Couldn't see him at all. No family could see him. Not even my aunt, which is his wife, couldn't see him at all. And he died of the jab. Well, not the jab, but of the situation. Okay, it wasn't the jab, but it's the situation, right? They said that's what they put on the death certificate, and not what he actually passed from. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. So funny business all over the place. And of course, many of you should join our Telegram channel. The Telegram channel is news posted there literally multiple times a day, which will give you deep insight to what's actually happening all around the world. You will see raw footage of protests and people just not taking any of this all across the planet. Okay, so do not think you're alone. You're not alone at all. So with that, so what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to play this advertisement, and then we'll get back into it. On the Zoom side, you may not hear anything, so just be aware of that. All right, here we go. Greetings, travelers. Reaching out to you through space and time with a new tool to help you on your journey. Many of you know of my research, as some of you have been part of it. I recently was looking through over 20 years of data and came upon an interesting observation. When the bridge is connected between our world and the next, when many of you are out yonder speaking to those in other spaces, digging deep within twilight to bring back those premonitions, wise words, and tools that can be used within our space and time. Many of you have complained that there's breaks in the transmission, and between these gaps, pertinent information is shared, but it is forever lost, as when you rejoin, the conversation is well past the initial point. For you, traveler, my late nights were not wasted, as only thing the neighbors heard was Eureka, as I perfected a serum that I imbued within the form of a salve. This tool, this salve, I call Lavender Dreams of a Blue Lotus. Before your travels, rub a dime-sized amount at the bottom of each foot, and make sure you rub it in as much as possible. Each night it is used, the greater effect shall be had. Your travels shall be more vivid, and transmission breaks will no longer occur. I look forward to what you bring back. Yes, come in. Ah, it's you, traveler. I am happy to see you. I can tell you have been on many adventures. Well, I must say your timing is impeccable, as I have just finished another tool that will assist you in relaying information from the dimensions within. This newest tool for your endeavors is called the Traveler's Dream Journal. It has been created to provide scientific nuance to the elusive quantum dreaming state. Here, it has been created for you. Take it with you, and do not forget to write down upon awakening what secrets have been revealed. Many futures may depend on it. Okay, so we're back here. All right, so one moment here. Okay, so let's get back into it here. All right, is there any other comments or questions or concerns on the Zoom side or on the YouTube side? I see here that Deetra made a comment saying, "Finally get to eat real food." Yes, the food production method that's being created, your food would be organic, and of course, the food that I'm growing is with the heirloom seeds from the website, right? So it's gonna be a wonderful thing. Mike, you had something else you would like to say?
Yeah. Yep. And I did come down with COVID at the end of August, and after I quarantined for my 10 days, that's when I lost my taste and my smell. And then I also caught COVID pneumonia because I guess I wasn't supposed to sleep on my back. And I still haven't got my smell back. So it's 1 on 3. And my taste I can taste a little bit. So.
Have you consumed the Be Well?
No.
It was perfect. It was purposely created for the situation.
Well, I need to get to the site then.
Yep. There are many people who have supposedly had what you just named, and it worked wonders with all of them.
Okay. Let me click over one.
Cool. So, all right. Anyone else? Any comments? Any questions? Any concerns? A comment made. No, there's no coupon code going to be this week, but on Friday, there's going to be a lot of items will be on sale. Okay, so as of Friday, this upcoming Friday, a lot of items on the website will be on sale. So everybody here has been forewarned about that. So that will start late Thursday night, Friday morning, and it will go for about 4 to 5 days. Okay, so a lot of the items will be on sale. It's not gonna be every item, but you will see at that time. All right. Any other? Okay, so is any again, any comments, any questions? If not, we will call it a night. Of course, we have seen some of you who, if you do pay attention to the news or anything at all, or even on the internet, New York and California are going nuts when it comes to the situation, specifically near the islands, Brooklyn, of course, Manhattan, Queens, all going nuts. Chicago, the mayor here, who who's not even, from my understanding, not even from here. Okay, instituted more restrictions here. For the most part, no one pays attention to it. Chicago's a bit different in ideology versus many other places in the United States. So people here, for the most part, are just doing what they do. But at the same time, still, they're trying to put forth, and again, it's all purposeful. It's all by design. So let's see here. All right, let's see. All right, so
hey Tony, I have a question. I raised my hand. I had a question, and it's about fasting, and I was thinking about going on a no meat fasting, trying to get me prepared to get off meat. Period. The last couple of years, I've been slowly working towards that, which I've eliminated beef. So I'm down to like just chicken and fish, more fish or shellfish than chicken, but that's what I'm down to now. But do you have any suggestions on a particular fast? Like I want to do first, trying to do a 30 or 40-day fast, and I was wondering if you had any ideas on getting prepared to go into that, other than meditating towards that.
Well, first, you mentioned, did you eat some meat and seafood, specifically shellfish? Shellfish is what you actually should not eat. Shellfish are bottom feeders. Okay, so even biblically, it sways you away from eating shellfish because of that. Okay, so so stay away. Ideally, you want to stay away from shellfish or bottom feeding types of entities. Okay, they're pretty much like roaches of this water.
That's kind of like catfish too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
So, but there's many types of fish out there. So find one that you like and consume that. Just make sure it's not high in mercury. When it comes to ideally, humans should not be eating or killing these spiritual creatures that are around us. Okay, for those who've had pets, dogs, cats, even cows and stuff like that, they literally have their own personality, and they are sentient beings. Okay, and so ideally, you should not be killing sentient beings for sustenance. Okay, your sustenance should be coming from that which grows from the sun. Okay, or for those who are more something else, or from the moon, because the moon, there's certain fruits, herbs, and other types of flowers that only grow under moonlight only. Okay, but we are not in ideal situations. Okay, so not in so ideal situation, you do what you have to do. So, for example, if let's just say at the market, this is not just for you, Rick, this is for the audience as well. Let's, for example, you see you at the market, things are, let's say there is, food is going to become, again, more expensive, and all type of things going to happen concerning the food. So I want to get too deep into that, but so let's say you haven't eaten in a few days. There's not a lot of fruits and vegetables around, right? But there's a good quality, let's say, cut of sirloin steak there. Okay, you put ideologically or whatever, you're trying to be a vegan or vegetarian, but if you don't eat that, then you may become weaker to the point where you're not able to do what you need to do. Majority of people are going to eat that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So people need to be kind of adult-like in their decisions. This is no slant on you, Rick, at all. But just overall, people need to be adult-like in their decisions and see reality for what is actually happening around them, and make decisions, good decisions, sound decisions based on that. So, for example, so one way, this is going a little bit off subject a little bit, but since it hit my mind, I want to make sure I say it. When it comes to inflation, so I mentioned inflation quite a bit, right, and gave some examples of inflation, how you somewhat lower the impact of inflation is that you buy in bulk. Okay, so for example, if you know inflation is taking place for a fact, right, you know prices are rising, or the amount that you're able to buy is decreasing, what you do is, since you know it's going to happen anyway, and it is happening, you buy more right now. Okay, so so for example, because right now, let's say a 10-pound bag of rice, right? Let's say that right now it's $10. Inflation is happening, so let's just say a year from now, that same 10-pound bag would be $35, right? So you hedge your bet in inflation by buying the, you stock up on those $10 10-pound bags of rice, right? So so the impact of inflation won't hit you as hard because you're still eating from that $10 pack of rice versus the more expensive 30, 40, 50, 60 10-pound bag of rice. You get what I'm saying? Because prices keep increasing. Now, eventually, you're going to have to buy again in the market, but it still allows you to save until that next time around comes. Hopefully, you can save much more as needed so that when that time around comes, you have more purchasing power at that time, right? So when it comes to fasting, ideally, when going into a fast, one should go more toward a lighter diet, right? So, for example, in going into a fast, you want to eat a 24-ounce T-bone steak with, mashed potatoes and gravy and all that type of stuff, right? You know what I'm saying? You don't want to go into a fast doing that. Instead, you want to eat lighter and lighter as it comes to that time of your fast, and then you go into your fast. You know what I'm saying? Whether it be a fruit fast only, a vegetable juice fast only, whether it be water fast, which is the more difficult out of all of those, right? And that's just that. However many days you stay on it, that's really up to you. Okay. There's also intermediate fasting. So when it comes to like, for example, Ayurvedic, the Ayurvedic methodology, right? There's not only certain foods you eat, but certain times of day that you eat it, right? So, so for example, like after 6 p.m., you wouldn't eat at all past 6 p.m., right? So it gives your body time. So before you go to sleep, a few hours from that point, whether it be 10, 11, 12, whatever it may be, you give you the time for your body to digest its food, right? And so, and when you go to sleep more on an empty stomach. And so, which is, so when you wake up in the morning, then at that point, you will eat or you will eat a meal. You don't just, binge. You will eat how you eat, but then you won't eat past 6 p.m. And at 6 p.m., ideally, you want to eat a very heavy meal. Typically, you will eat your heaviest meal midday. Okay, so let's say around noon, 1-ish, 2-ish. That's when your heaviest meal, let's say between 11 and 2. That's when your heaviest meal actually of the day should be eaten, because it gives more than enough time for that to digest and so on and so forth. Whereas then later in the evening time, you just may have like a salad, something light, whatever, more lighter, because you had your heavy meal already. You know what I'm saying? Because especially during the day as well, you're moving around and stuff, right? So you could burn some of those calories that you are putting on like that.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep. So I do appreciate it, Rick.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. So in the YouTube side, we have some comments here. So one person has said, why have some of us not caught this energy that's taking place, even if we frequent the same places as others? Do you think outside of a good immune system, there's something genetic reason? Immune system, genetics, energetic presence, and the fact that it's fake. You heard what I said, right? It's not real. Some say, what? But this is what's going on is what they said I have. No, you believe what they said. You believe what they told you had, and you believe it. People tell stories all the time. History, literally the history most of us have been taught is literally one big lie. It's a story, literally. And it's for you to believe it or not. Now, some people say, well, people are getting sick. People get sick all the time. People have always got sick. I was in a small conference when all this stuff really started to hit, right? People were screaming and crying that people are getting sick all over the place. I'm like, I'm not sure. And these are actually like, there were some nurses in the audience, stuff like that as well, right? And they were mostly quiet. But when I said that people have always got sick, everybody was looking like, yeah. Hospitals have always been full of sick people. You know what I'm saying? Especially with the diet and the nonsense that have always been going on around us. There's nothing has changed with that. If you look up the statistics, last year, based on what they have put out, so the same people who have put out how there's this major disease going around and people are just dying in the streets, which they weren't. Factually, actually, the Meta Center has went around to hospitals in the middle when everybody was in the house and they were bombarding everybody visually and audibly, telling people that the hospitals are full of people are dying all over the place. We went out and went to the hospitals. Okay? Major hospitals. I'm in Chicago, right? One of the largest cities in the world. I went to the most major hospital here. It was empty. People were just sitting around. There was no rush of anything. No cars pulling up, nothing. I stayed out there for 45 minutes. Not one car pulled up. It was empty. The lobby was empty. It was the person behind the desk who intaked it, just sitting there. Nothing was taking place at all. But yet, if you listen to if I turn on the TV, literally right there, it's saying that the hospitals are being overrun. Stop believing stories. Especially from people that you do not trust. Or you shouldn't trust. But now, like if you going based off of these people who are believing these people, right? And it may be some of you in the audience. I mean, I get it, right? The trauma goes deep. But these same people also said that the flu last year, the regular flu that people got, at times, right? That it was practically non-existent last year. So how did it go from the previous year being at normal levels, and then the year of the issue, all of a sudden it goes to practically non-existent? Come on, man. Come on, man. See, common sense here, but that's why I personally don't get in those type of conversations with people, because the moment you engage a nonsensical mind, the fault is not on the person you're engaging with. The fault is on you for getting engaged with a nonsensical mind. If you know these minds are not sound, okay? If you know a person here has, let's say schizophrenic, right? You know they have it for a fact, right? They're tweaking out super hard. They're spazzing out, and they're saying the most crazy things that you could imagine. Is it their fault they're saying the most crazy thing, or your fault for engaging with them about their crazy things, right? It'd be your fault because you already knew what was taking place. You know what I'm saying? Just because they say something crazy, that's what they do. And so you shouldn't get involved with it. So it's the same thing. So now let me finish this now. I'm going to add a caveat to that. As we know now, for the last year and a half, people have been getting these demonic tinctures, right, injected into them. We know this, right? Now, real diseases are popping up. Real sicknesses are popping up, for sure. Okay? I will stay the heck away from any of these people. Real talk. That's from me to you. I stay the heck away from. I don't want to have a conversation with you. You do what you do. You have that right as a sovereign being. You have the right to do whatever you want to do, as long as it doesn't affect me. So I'm going to stay away from you. And that's just that. So also out there for you all, especially the women, also for the men, but especially the women, You do not want to have relations with people who have this stuff injected in them. You don't want to have, because if if you have relations with someone who has injected in, now it's in you. All right. And so just be aware of that. You can't say you haven't heard it. You just heard it here. You know what I'm saying? It's not the first time I've said this. So you can't say that you are naive or you don't know. You do know. Someone actually told you. It makes sense, right? If a person is infected with something that can spread, especially through mucous membranes, and you are being close to that person, right, and exchanging fluids through these same mucous membranes, that means that now you can be infected through your mucous membranes. Okay, so yeah, so that's that. So with that, so keep your energy high, keep eating the best that you can, eating ideally a holistic, at least semi-vegetarian diet. Okay, lots of fruits, lots of veggies, smoothies. Okay. Take if you feel that you may be coming down with something, or then you may want the tea on the website. Comes in tea and tincture form. It's called Be Well. It's probably one of the strongest natural substances for fighting off issues, probably around period. You know what I'm saying? So it's called Be Well. What else here? Drink lots of water. Try your best to get lots of sun. We up here in the north, especially in Chicago, this is Gotham City. So if you ever recall Gotham City and Batman, it's always dark. It's always dark, and there's always a certain way. Well, that's how Chicago is. It's just like that. Okay, so we don't get a lot of sun up here. But if you are in a place that has a lot of sun, get sun. You know what I'm saying? Drink smoothies, drink water, and keep it moving. And practice proper thought forms, and then keep it moving. All right. So, what else here in the chat room? Ovo said, "Excellent show as always. We are thankful for you, and the Creator has given us such a gift. Thank you for all that you do." Okay, appreciate that. Let's see here. A book. One person says, "Here's a book I read said the people who are most fearful of getting sick are the ones who actually get sick. Going on 2 years strong, exposed to the vid, and no effect on me. Don't believe the hype." Bingo. I tell you something that's deep too. I'm not sure if any of you have done this, but when any of you were younger, when you were a child, and you really didn't want to go to school, right? And you knew if you were sick, you didn't have to go to school. So you would literally put on an act, but you were really like pushing it to believe it, even yourself, that you would put on an act as if you were sick yourself. And then you didn't have to go to school. Why? Because you actually made yourself sick. Has hit one if that has ever happened to you? Okay. Have you ever done that? Hit one. Okay. I have done that personally. And at 5, 6 years old, I seen the power of the mind. Like literally at 5, 6 years old, I was like, wow, I'm actually sick now for real. And I was upset. Because I thought I was gonna have a day of relaxing and playing. Back then it would have been Atari, playing Atari, and which is a video game system, and stuff like that. When really I was really just laying there because I actually made myself sick for real. Okay. So the same thing is now, right? People, think about it. Most people's minds are not strong at all. They literally believe anything that the TV tells them, they actually believe. The TV told them to wear 2 masks. They're wearing 2 masks. The TV told, years ago on the news, it has said, researchers suggest that you should not wash your vegetables. And then people stopped literally washing their vegetables, okay, before they cook with them and stuff like that. So anything, you have a massive amount of people that will do anything and feel any way that that their masters at this point say to them. So if their masters say to them that they are sick and something will get them sick, and that they need to get the latest tincture for that to happen, guess what's going to happen? They're going to do that. And there's nothing that me or you or anyone else here could really do about that. Okay? Only thing we can do is just keep moving forward and operating how we operate. And maybe if their eyes are open enough to see, they will see someone operating contrary to what they're doing. And in turn, it may bring about certain internal revelations and thought forms. All right, so, all right, everyone. Anything, any comments, questions on the chat room, on YouTube, anything on the Zoom side? If so, you can unmute your phone on the Zoom side. So when it comes to, again, manifesting, right, based on the theme that this conversation has took on tonight, my suggestion would be to anyone to see reality for what it is and make moves not based on emotion, but on the reality of the things around you. There have been many times on this podcast over the last year, because this whole food situation I've been paying attention to for over a year, okay? When supply chains started to get disrupted. This started to happen in mid-2020, okay? Supply chains, a lot of meat and other types of processing facilities supposedly had to be closed down because it's an outbreak, when it was all staged in BS. But they were close. Those facilities were closed down, though, for sure. Which I started to say, that's not good. Okay, so with that being said, let's see something here. So with that being said and done, you want to stay focused. You want to see reality for what it is, and you want to make your moves based on that. Ideally, it should include some form of independence. What's going on here?
On singular, now is your chance! Show them your power!
Oh, wow. Okay. I guess it's time for me to power up some more. Okay, so we'll see what's just so you know, for those who don't know, that's a stupid Star Wars parody where they were calling so it's so stupid. It's on YouTube, right? It's so stupid and hilarious. And so instead of calling Han Solo, they called him Han Singular, right? He said so this is so stupid. And in that scene, they say, Han Singular, show them your power. You know, this is so stupid. So you all have to see this, right? I'm gonna post it. I'm gonna pull it up here. I'm gonna post it on the YouTube side. The link to this stupid series is absolutely hilarious, right? So for those who are into Star Wars and stuff like that, it's good though. It's actually, a person took a lot of time to make this, but this is hilarious. So, nothing wrong with laughter, right? Especially good laughter. So, all right. So, any comments, any questions, anything on your mind on tonight's show?
Tony, I was going to say, because you reminded me when you said about going to the hospitals. When the lockdown initially started back in March 2020, one of the things I did, and I was living at Southern California at the time, I drove around and I noticed a bunch of construction where they were laying out what looked to be like 5G wires all over the place, and including schools.
Real talk there. That's a point that I didn't even think to mention. Yes, that was going on all over the nation and many parts of the world. They used the time for the lockdown to further the agenda without restraint, okay, without people noticing, because the normies, okay, these are the people who, again, who do, the TV tells them to put on 3 masks, they put on 3 masks, right? The normies can't notice something so obvious like that because it awakens them. Okay, and when the normies awake, they tend to become very violent, very aggressive, and kind of wild like at times. But it becomes too many for the negative energies to handle. So by any means, they have to keep them sedated. Okay, by any and all means. So I appreciate you bringing that up, Marcella. Okay, so on the YouTube side and on the Zoom side, I'm posting the link to the parody Star Wars. All right, this is something for you all to check out. You all may find this absolutely hilarious, and then you will tell me how it was for you. Okay, so is that Mike again?
Yeah.
Okay, what's going on, Mike?
One more question. I think the 5G has a lot to do with this as well.
Maybe, and the reason why I say maybe is because getting hit with micrometer waves or any waves, okay, will cause some type of disturbance within the body. It does not mean that the disturbance will kill a person. It doesn't mean it will even weaken them per se, but it's going to do something, okay? And
mess with the nervous system.
Repeat that.
I said, doesn't it messes with the nervous system?
It can. It most definitely can. It can also heat up the body. It can cause rapid cellular decay. There's many things that it actually can do. Most certainly.
And with all the towers and smart devices and all that we surrounded by, and then we constantly now can't nobody go nowhere without their phones. I mean, bathrooms just constant 24/7.
Well, you can go somewhere without the phone.
No.
Go ahead.
I'm saying that so many people, a lot, especially even with the younger, even some older ones, they keep them phones with them 24/7 up to their ear. So every time it rings, that phone is saying, "I'm over here," or "I'm looking for you." And then when it pick up, that's when you're being radiated the most, and then you constantly got it up to your ear. So I mean, it's just my thought.
Hey, that's a good thought to have, to make some precautions around, for sure. Most definitely. Appreciate you chiming in again. Yeah. So what else here? Because Mike said some things there that made something cross my mind, but then it'll come back to me. It was something I wanted Mike to finish his statement, but it was something he was talking about concerning the 5G and stuff like that that made me I wanted to mention something else to you all about some of this stuff. But anyhow, any other comments, questions?
Hey, Tony, would it be something like if not just having other people around you or surrounding you with devices, even if you don't have any devices yourself, how you can be impacted by it?
Well, most definitely.
I was just kind of piggyback off of what he was saying earlier.
Most certainly.
Yeah.
The reality of the situation is this: if people actually knew what the towers, we see these towers all over the place, right? If people actually knew the problems those towers were doing to potentially their psychic abilities, just their overall health, physical health just by itself. Then their psychic abilities, their connection with the creator, their connection with the earth and the realm we're in, their connection with the internal self, how these towers and things are disrupting that process. If
It's almost kind of like birds falling out the air,
most
or
certainly,
being a beach whale.
Most
You lose your natural ability to tune into everything around you, Mother Earth and the sky, the moon, the sun. It's just you lose that, right?
Most certainly, your ability to navigate, right, internally, right. So if people actually knew that what these towers were doing, I mean, I would think in this reality, like in another reality, let's put it like this: in another reality, they would have there would pretty much be no what we call cell service, because the towers will keep being torn down. I'll just put it like that. In another reality, in a more fictional reality, that's what would actually take place if people actually, if in that reality it was exposed what these things are doing to people's consciousness. Oh, it wouldn't be any cellular phones how we have them today at all, because every time a tower will go up, it would be torn right back down. So let's see here. So it's kind of interesting. Oh, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just what you were talking about, the towers. I had getting some feedback at a dinner party, Christmas, and there was actually a conversation about there were groups forming that of individuals who were really, the electromagnetic influences upon their own bodies. They were forming small collectives of group individuals who were suffering from different issues, and actually, when they meet, everyone takes off or removes all the electromagnetic magnetic things that they might have, of the cell phones, laptops, whatever, because the parties are so sensitive to the energy that they've actually created. In other words, they actually created help groups with that. That's in the Midwest here, and I had never heard that before. I know people had different sensitivities, but I had never heard that there were collectives or groups that were forming that shared that expression each other. So, I wanted to add that. Perhaps anyone had ever heard that before. And also, I want to ask you.
Okay. Pause there, David. Just so I could mention that. So those people are called targeted individuals, being TI'd. Okay, TI, targeted individuals. And Dr. Blair did a podcast years ago, which we had on at the time. People, it was like a big group out of Florida, and of these people who were all TI'd, technically invaded, a targeted individual, right? And they were going on to the different symptoms, the different things that take place around them, the interference they had. It's all types of stuff that takes place. And so that podcast is available on the website. It's $5 if you on the website, whatever. But that is targeted. People are targeted. But in reality, humanity is being targeted by these nefarious agents. So continue on, David.
Okay. Yeah. The question. I've heard of. I think I've read some document. I read so much stuff. But anyway, people were obtaining these orgone kind of discs or orgone type of discs or type of balls or whatever, and they were burying them next to the cell towers, and And I guess in that article they were saying that they had some effect on the energy being projected from the cell towers, but I don't see how because. But anyway, but that was what the article was saying. But I guess there's so many different types of these towers that are in a range of the average person that we're getting so bombarded that I guess it really doesn't make a difference. You have to protect yourself from all kinds of instances by stuff that you get from the Meta Center and by using different technologies, from that. But I did want to mention that too. But one other thing, and this goes away from that for a second, but with this, I read an article about these supply ships being held up from around the coast, the supply ships, and they were being held up from being unable to unload, so that this artificial supply chain breakdown would just become more evident. So I guess at a certain point, either those supply ships are going to be released, or the issues or the supplies that they have is going to rot, or they're going to dump to the sea. But I did want to share that part too. Suppose the groups of ships, the supply ships, are just multiplying, and they're really being held back, sort of creating that the artificial supply chain that we're talking, issue that we're talking about now. And even here in the country here, they got, they're getting low on bags, as far as bags for a person putting their groceries in, those kind of issues, So it's getting interesting. I did want to share that with you.
Well, I appreciate you sharing, David. You said quite a bit there that most definitely is taking place. So, it deals with the supply chain. And so at the time you came on, I'm not sure if you were listening before you came on the Zoom, but we actually got a little bit into that. But with the supply chain, yes, it does not only deal with food; it deals with almost every commodity, right? And not just so between the ships and in between the truck drivers, between them two places, I'm saying the supply chain is being massively disrupted, and it's all on purpose. So sabotaging, shutting down the ports or limiting what could come into the ports and stuff like that. That's backing up everything as we see. So that means it takes longer and longer for the goods to come into the country. Also, when it comes to truck driving, they're starting to put restrictions on truck driving. Just a FYI, what's supposedly may be taking place is that there's news going. You all probably may have heard it here first. We may have some. Do we have any truck drivers in the audience? Any long distance truck drivers in the audience? If so, hit 2 on your keypad. If we have any long distance truck drivers in the audience, hit number 2 on your keypad. And it's a reason why I'm mentioning that. So, but supposedly on January 3rd, a mandate is taking place where there will be no truck drivers are able to cross the Canadian-United States border. They kept focusing on that, so I'm not sure if it's also the Mexican-United States border as well. But I know for a fact, based on what they said, the Canadian-United States border, unless they get the jab, okay? And many of them said they are absolutely not doing it at all.
Right.
Okay, and so they estimate about 15% or more, but around 15% of the trucking industry will just be standing on the side of the road. You know what I'm saying? In their trucks, just waiting to see what happens, right? If that is the case, food, most definitely there will be a run on the stores, because food will see the way the way logistics works in the supply chain is very fragile, and it's almost like where let's say at this grocery store, a truck is coming every day at 10 a.m., let's say, right? And let's say if that truck were to come at 11 a.m., well, then literally just from that little distance right there, certain items will start to be going low in the back. You might not notice it in the front of the store, but in the back in the warehouse part of the store, they're running out of certain items because that's how fragile and how consistent the supply is to these stores and stuff, right? All the time like that, right? And so if that slows down or stop where they have to get it at 10 a.m. and at 11 a.m. stock starts becoming low in the back, but instead of not getting it at 11 a.m., they're not getting it for 5-6 days later, then that's going to be problems.
Yes.
So that means that there will be empty shelves and stuff like that. Okay, and so so that is going on, that is happening. Hence, I'm not sure if you I think you just came in, but there's a secret food project that I've been working on for a little while now. That will be I know you come into the March event, so you'll get first access to learning about what was created and the purpose and so on and so forth. So you will see that in March.
Okay, well, let me advance something since I live in the country out here. You know, the fact that a lot of farms, you know, these small farms, they create produce and those kind of things, and not really at a commercial level, but you know, they create like 2-3 acres of different kind of foodstuffs, and then they have these roadside markets or whatever. And I would suggest, you know, this is my opinion, is that if there are people out there who would, you know, looking to try to save some money on food and or acquire a resource for it, is that if they have opportunity to contact some of these farms, small farms who create this produce, everything from raising honey to even food or meat or whatever. To contact them, maybe you can contract them with a larger group of yourselves instead of one person. Maybe come together with 5 or 10 or 20 people, whatever, 30 people, whatever, and then contract that small farm to buy some of their produce in advance. So something like this come down the road, that you'll have something, have an opportunity to maybe get products of food produce that others wouldn't have because they wouldn't have time to even think that far ahead, because these farmers where I live out in the country, like they have, like I said, they have 4 or 5 acres just for produce. They might be farming 1,000 acres, but they'll have 3 or 4 or 5 acres just for different kind of produce, and a lot of food just goes to waste because the people can't eat it all. They just plow it back under, and that's just a thought. So that's just a thought. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Appreciate it, David, and that's a smart thought. We had talked about that even some years ago, going back about 3.5-4 years ago. That was brought up a bit and everything else, but it went on. People many times have to have the fire up on their butt for anything to potentially take place, and so and that's an unfortunate aspect currently in these times when it comes to humanity. They have to have something. They have to have adverse conditions take place before they decide to, which is very reactionary. Okay, before they're able to make a move here or there. So yeah, but that's a really good suggestion, though.
Okay, good. Okay, I had a good show. I was listening a bit on the YouTube, but I wanted to make a comment, so I got Zoom. Anyway, great. It's always a great show, and some of the topics that you speak to. And this is one last thing. This is just a bit of kind of humorous in a way, but it emphasizes what you talked about, inflation. Back in the day, I went, started high school in 62. So between 62 and 66, I graduated. about 62, 63 or 4, you could buy, I could take 50 cents, 55 cents, and buy 2 hamburgers for 50 cents a piece, and a bag of French fries for 10 cents a piece, and buy me a drink, and I'm looking at 50 cents. Okay, and big fast portions, So, and it's interesting because those same things that you look at, if you 10 times the price of them now, if you 10 times the price of it, you'll see what the basic one will cost you today. So that just show you how inflated, how robbed the people were in regard to their purchase power of the dollar. And one other thing, I'm gonna stop talking because I've talked too long. But back in the day, we used to get robbed on the telephone. Back in the day, if a person made a phone call, long distance call, the first minute they charge you, I'll just say it's something maybe $3 for the first minute, and maybe $1.50 for the second minute, and don't go on and go on, and it actually happened like that, I grew up in that, when I grew up at that age, and a person would travel and visit families, and instead of making a long distance call, they make a call collect when they get back home, and say, when I call collect, I want you to say that there's a phone call for so and so and so for David, and all I want you to say is that you decline it. That way, I know that we got back home, and that way you wouldn't have to pay that exorbitant rate, So, and then years later, we almost make calls for 10 cents or whatever. So, they've been robbing us for a long, 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 long time. So I'm done speaking. Bye-bye.
There it is. Thank you. All right. So let's see here. Okay. So is there anything else on any of you all's minds? Let's see here. On the Zoom side or on YouTube. Now I do see someone did mention that they were going to ask about the Oregon muffins. They could say it counters, but the Oregon muffins that they use for cell towers. No, they don't do anything. It's more so wishful thinking than anything else. People need to just push their thought forms a few steps forward past that point. Barbara said birds did fall out of the sky in the Netherlands. Yep, 100%. Due to a soft launch of 5G. I seen that news too. Barbara also states some aerospace manufacturers and airline executives have petitioned to stop 2 of the major cellular providers from fully turning on 5G. Yep, I've read some news about that as well. So, all right. So, any other comments, questions, anything on your minds? On the Zoom side or on the YouTube side? Going once. All right, so any comments or any questions, concerns? Going twice. So if that's it for tonight, I just want to say to everyone, we are approaching a symbolic new year. So one could look at it as like a new beginning. So in many of your cases, put forth some proper thought forms and go harder in whatever it is that you're thinking about. Take on something new, such as even exercising, things like that. If you're not doing it already, to get into better shape, whether it be eating better, whether it be even doing meditation on a regular basis, whatever it may be, put forth some type of positive thought form and move forward in it. We all know that typically near holidays such as the New Year, it could get really crazy, right? Even when things seemingly were normal, right, and everything seemed like it was okay, people would act crazy and do all types of crazy things when coming toward the new year and so on and so forth. So because of what's going on around us and everything else, people are very stressed out and stuff like that. So just be safe and conscientious of what's taking place around you. Be observant. Don't be like so into your phone. Don't be out in public intoxicated, okay, because you're pretty much opening the door for chaotic situations to take place. So just be conscientious of that for you and your loved ones as we approach this symbolic new year and even going forward past that. Deetra says in the Zoom side, you are greatly appreciated, Tony. You are appreciated as well. Thank you very much. So if that's it, we will end the show here. So one more time, any other questions, comments, concerns? Going once.
I have something I can ask you, Tony.
Okay, go ahead, Slider.
Because you just brought up intoxication, and on the Metaphysics Speaks radio that you have out, on the playlist, Bobby Hemmett talks about because tonight we've been talking about the placebo effect as well. So, do you think what's your ideology on because he says how drinking alcohol and things of that nature, like some people will think it's like obviously it taints the body or whatever, but he says like it opens doors spiritually and all that other stuff. But he seems to like advocate it in like a positive sense. But you had just brought up intoxication and kind of like having like the doors open. Like, so how do you? What's your take on that? Like the alcohol and the because he seems to think it opens doors spiritually. He speaks about that, and but you had just literally brought up, how if you're out in public and you're intoxicated, you're kind of like vulnerable in a sense.
Okay, so let's put it like this, right? So of course, if a person smokes marijuana, right, during that time that they're under the influence of it, they think about even the wording, under the influence of it, right? If a person drinks alcohol, they're under the influence of alcohol, right? So, which can lead to, I'll put it like this. I'm not going to say, I will say it like this. Ideally, the body should be as pure as possible. Your body is a temple, what they call it, right? Or in your temple, your mind, but it's an organic machine. And this organic machine has certain protocols of the way it needs to operate, okay? To operate in its most efficient way, okay? Just like your car, right? A lot of people don't take good care of their car as they actually should. But the manufacturer, so think of it like this is God, okay? So the let's say whatever your car make and model is, the God of that car is the manufacturer, right? So what is a Ford, Chevy, Toyota, Lamborghini, or whatever, right? So the manufacturer of that, they created it. They have a manual that comes with it that tells you very precisely about oil changes, transmission fluid changes, literally about the makeup and how to take care of this metallic machine. And if you take care of this metallic machine exactly the way the manufacturer states, meaning the manufacturer is God in a sense, right? Exactly the way your manufacturer states, and you operate it just like the manual states, then you will find that that vehicle will last you a very long time. The same thing is with the organic body. The organic body does have a manual. And someone say, yeah, it's the Bible. It ain't the Bible. Okay? It has little pieces of it in there. But the organic body has a 100% manual as well of the way that it operates, the way that it works, how to bring it 100% back into homeostasis, or which means balance. Okay? If this is going on, if something develops that takes it out of balance, or if some type of specifically bacterial or parasitic type of infection takes place within it, how to correct it, and so on and so forth. The organic body has exactly the same thing as well. So now let's get to it. As many times that people have said when people are intoxicated that again, not only are they under the influence of something, but that is when, if any time some type of parasitic spiritual action is going to take place, if it's some type of spiritual jumping, some type of demonic or spiritual entity is going to jump in and jump out, right? It's going to happen when a person is under the influence of something, specifically like alcohol and other types of substances that are out there. Now, even substances that people use for more medicinal purposes, which may be like the ayahuasca, which may be the psilocybin mushrooms, and many of the other substances out there which may have a more, let's say, holistic part to it, still, while you have consumed that, you are still 100% under the influence of it. Okay? Which potentially could bring about certain inverse actions that you don't want. Okay? So with that, ideally a person should keep their body as pure as possible. People in these times especially look for excuses to be drug addicts, in short. You know what I'm saying? They look for just excuses so they can take something, because really internally is either so much pain or so much loss, or in many cases running away from themselves, and they want to forget about reality and about themselves, that they run toward those types of substances to get lost in. So people should keep themselves as pure as possible, period. And I really don't care who says other than that. Okay, they are treading in territory which could drastically cause problems to a lot of people who don't enter and understand what they're really trying to state and what they're stating. You get what I'm saying? That's why certain information has never really been for public airways like now, how it is, because let's say he's making a statement, for example, and he gets cut off halfway as he's making his point, so he doesn't finish the point, and he talks about, let's say, intoxication and drinking, things like that, which you had just mentioned, that bring this up to conversation about. It leads one thinking certain things are okay for whatever reason, but the full reason is not even known, and it leads one down a path of buffoonery or nonsense that could have been totally avoided. So, thank you. Danny said in the Zoom side, she says too much of anything isn't good pertaining to alcohol comment. And she said the other name for alcohol is spirits. There's no coincidences, people. No coincidences at all. Okay, so Kashama says that, I always call you Kashama first, but Kashama said that what do you think of manifesting with herbs? There's many energies that plant life has, okay, but that's a little bit too. That's another topic, just a little bit too deep for this conversation right now. Let's see here. Another person says, my first time here, and I enjoyed this. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. All right. So any other comments, questions, anything you want to share?
Tony, I have one thing I'd like to add. Possibly in the future, this may not be a time for now or whatever, but you discussed regarding, of course, staying away from vaccinated people, and you may have relatives, but you also may have those persons close to you, boyfriends or girlfriends, or even husbands or wives or whatever, that's taken a jab and maybe you haven't. Maybe you can discuss a reasonable way to deal with any exchange. In other words, any kind of exchange of sexual relations, so that it empower both parties if they have a conversation about it. Because I imagine them out there somewhere. There's got to be some people who are in relationships, and one has had a jab and others have not. And then when you bring up the topic of how one can be affected, then that might cause a lot of discernment as to how they can deal with it, or if in fact they can deal with it. Maybe that's something you could address for those who might be really have a wrestle with that going on in their soul or their spirit when they heard that. I just want to be clear, Okay, I'm done.
Okay. Thank you for asking that question, Dave. So it's really, again, if, see, we've seen, during this time, we've seen something very clear, right? We've seen the people who have these belief systems, whatever they may be, these systems they have faith in, right? And they were before all this stuff started, they would adamantly tell you one thing or another, right? But then when the pressure actually started to come on, they folded immediately. Okay? I said that for a reason, and that is that when it comes to this, if people actually are researching and they see that people are being injected with something very nefarious, and that it potentially can spread, at the very least, if they're injected with something very nefarious, that this basic biology that potentially, especially if you're close with that person, exchanging fluids with them, then it's a potential that you're going to get whatever that is. You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily that it would infect you, that you become sick, but whatever that is going to be inside of you. Okay? And so if a person has some type of moral compass or some type of self-respect with themselves, especially if they adamantly feel a certain way when it comes to the actions that are taking place around us, there's really no soft way of really dealing with this, okay? Because especially if it's a family member that you necessarily don't have to see, you could say, hey, I respect your decision, but, I'm going to do me, and I would appreciate if you don't, bombard me with your thought forms. Okay, and if they still keep bombarding with their thought forms because they are programmed, they're trying to spread the virus. And peep this, right? On our Telegram channel, there's a post that was put up. And this post perfectly describes what is taking place around us. And I'm going to read this post. This post says, the reason so many of the jabbed people are pushy and adamant about you getting it too is because deep down they fear they made a mistake and don't want to be alone with their choice. If they go down, you have to go down with them. It's inconceivable that you made the right choice and they didn't. They followed the science. You have to be wrong. Even if you are right, you have to be jabbed too. So everybody suffers equally. Okay. So pretty much they got to say you got to get it too, right? And let me tell you a deeper aspect of this. We talked about this a bit in the herbology class. Is that many times too, we see, especially in this country, in America, the United States, but this is across other parts of the world too, that you have this massive ego. Okay, so let's focus on the United States here. This massive ego, right? That people are better than other people and stuff like that, right? Especially when it comes to certain professions, right? There's a known aspect of doctors, for example, that they have what's called the God complex. Okay, there's a known aspect when people who are of certain demographics, when they go to, for example, doctors and they have pain, the doctors literally just don't listen to them at all, and literally try to convince them they're not in pain. Okay, due to just the low level of respect that this typical culture this doctor comes from, especially, which they tend to be of a certain persuasion, feels about certain demographics of people. This is a well-known fact, well discussed. People know about this, right? Well, that person like that, who's that, like the doctor in this sense, who's that arrogant, and let's say they look at you as nothing, right? And they look at what you do as nothing, look at you as a nothing being, right? How can you be right? This person has all this education. This person is almost the equivalent of God here, right? And you are just, let's say, a gamer, right? Yeah, you could have did something better in life, let's say, but you didn't. And let's just say, it's not to roast you, nothing, but let's just say you're just a gamer. That's all you do is game. You go to work, you pay your bills just so you can go home and game some more, right? This person thinks you are absolutely nothing in life. And yet you had enough sense not to believe the agents of chaos on the TV screens. And they believed it. With all their education, with all their God complex, all their ego, they believed it. And you didn't. Let's say that in this example, this person who's just a gamer who goes to work just to pay the bills so they could game some more, right? And so where some people would look at that person in disdain, they would look at that person as nothing. Okay? So in looking at this person, how can this person, there's nobody gamer in this fictional scenario that I'm giving here, this nobody gamer who is a waste on society, how could they see something that I, as the godlike doctor with an ego that's through the stratosphere, how can they be correct and I'm not? Okay, that leads that egotistical person to get very angry, to get aggressive, and to potentially become violent toward the person who they look at as no one or a nobody. All because how can you be right? Right? So a lot of what we're dealing with is also that. And only thing you can do, again, if it's a family member that you don't necessarily even have to see a lot, you tell them, hey, you respect their decision, but don't bring those thought forms to you. You have to be strong in that. This is the time to build up that strength, right? The internal fortitude. When it comes to a person that you are close with intimately, it becomes where that's not going to be an easy thing to do. You know what I'm saying? It depends on how strong, how much fortitude that you have in your moral compass, in your internal compass, your spiritual compass, your emotional compass, your ideological compass of where you stand. You know, where you draw the line in the sand. Where if it's a partner of yours and you are discussing it, and you say, hey, I get it. You can do what you're going to do. I care for you and everything else. But this is the line in the sand. If you do that, it's over. I mean, there are some people who are making those types of heavy decisions like that. And there's no easy way to go about that, unfortunately. So I just wish those who, those well on that path who may have to make those heavy decisions So, but that's not going to be easy. So, there were some comments here. We do have, you'll see it in the description. I'm going to add it to this description of this particular podcast as well. But there'll be a link to click on where you could add questions and comments that it's anonymous, don't know who you are at all. And so you could be very forthcoming with your question or comment. So one of a question or comment someone made here is, due to our current situation, the ones who acted on their medical freedom to keep their body as pure as possible against imposed toxins, we are dealing with isolation in historic proportions. What are your suggestions for people who live alone or have been pushed out of their communal settings because of their choice to remain uncompromised or uncompromised? So they can literally, so they can be mentally balanced and focused for the future when their abilities are needed. Well, just that. Unfortunately, we are in times where, again, this is not the first time this cycle has happened at all. Okay, so we are in times again when this is happening again, right? So only thing you can do is know that there are others who are pushing forward just like you, who are staying steadfast just like you. Okay, and just do what you can to make sure that you're that you have a roof over your head, for example, that you just are in a space where you can actually move forward in. That's really my suggestion with that, because these choices we make or people make overall in these times to not be around family, things like that, because of these toxic mental, spiritual, and physical choices that they're partaking in. In these times, it's already been foretold that in these times it's not going to be easy, but as long as you stay steadfast, as long as you keep your mind clear and you meditate and you keep moving those steps forward that you need to make, that in the end it will all be worthwhile. Another person put forth a thought form here, and they said, what can we do spiritually to get through the day-to-day energy that is attacking us both physically and spiritually? One thing that is very helpful is prayer, okay? Whether it be prayer, whether it be personally created thought forms that give strength, okay, or give peace, or whether it be the thought forms you're reading from others that give peace or give strength on this path, okay? And so, like some people like to read scripture verses from whatever major or minor religious path that you may adhere to. So those are very good things to do, especially in good things to meditate on, especially in these times, right? So where as you're sitting alone and you're in meditation, let's say, not necessarily with music on or all that stuff, but you're just sitting there in quiet, your rhythmic breathing, you are meditating on that verse or that saying that that gives you a bit of solace or peace. Okay. Another person mentioned this. In light of all the chaos going on across the planet, scare tactics being used to force compliance, resources not being available or extremely limited to those who question the science, and its history by choosing not to participate in the planned events mandates. Outside of self-meditation and prayer, the Meta Center's services and products, how else can we not only cope with the current situation, but function and thrive above the chaos? I really enjoy all four podcasts. Thank you for what the Meta Center is doing in the universe. All the best. All right, so really, so for example, really when it comes to this situation like this, right? So this was a very good question as well. And a person says, for example, I'm going to read this over again, this one portion of it. How else can we not only cope with the current situation, but function and thrive above the chaos? Well, to thrive mainly above the chaos, you have to control what you're thriving in. And that has been purposely dismantled from the people, okay? Especially here in the United States. That's the reason why the United States was, you could say, is one of, for those who know history, is like the last Mohican, okay? Literally. It's one of the only places on the planet where people can do certain things a certain way. Most of the planet is completely controlled. Okay, so that's why when people, that's why people used to rush here from those places. Okay, because no matter in visiting, when people visit those places on vacations and everything else, that people smile at you and everything else, but you're not seeing the underbelly of what's taking place there. They're under complete control, under complete many forms of belittlement and everything else. And they smile at you because they want that American dollar. But you necessarily don't want to live there as them, because you don't want to be subject to what they're subjected to, which is a lot of nefarious behavior. And that's what they're trying to do to this place here. So you necessarily, when I say thrive, I mean it in the truest sense. You cannot thrive unless you control what you're thriving in. So, for example, if you cannot control the mechanisms that are creating the situations around you, then those mechanisms can be changed up under you at any given moment. So how can, in the truest sense, how can you truly thrive? If at any moment, as you're moving forward, the rug is pulled from under you and the game is changed again. You see? So one has to understand that what humanity is facing, this current, what they call reset, and the rug being pulled under, is not the first time. And so a lot of times, well, it's not the first time. And so only thing one can do is, again, thriving. One may say, you see this person over here making $500,000 a year or something like that, right? Let's say, or more, right? And yes, they're thriving to an extent, but in the truest sense, they're not thriving at all. Their resources are still being stolen from them. They're still undergoing inflation as well, and so on and so forth. They're just making more money, so they don't feel it as much. But still, they're still under the same. So only way to truly thrive is to control what is around you. That's the way that's the only way to truly thrive. Okay, whether it be you control, pretty much you're controlling your destiny. Okay, whether it be you controlling the money supply, where you're controlling the country itself, or whatever it may be that you are doing. Most people don't even control what goes on in their own neighborhoods. In these times, a lot of people don't even control what happens within their own home, with their own family. Right? And many other times, many people don't even have control over themselves, which is called self-control, obviously. Many people don't even have control over themselves. So how can you have control? Not saying this is the case in this person's case, but how can one have control over their destiny to not only function but thrive when they don't even have control over even themselves? So, one thing leads to another, and this may be a comment or a question out here that we may dive a little bit deeper to in the future. So, going back to some comments here, one person says here,
yes.
This person said it like that.
Yes.
Okay, they literally say yes. All right. So I know someone that went to the hospital because their gallbladder needed to be removed due to emergency, and instead of them checking out that area, they wanted to check them for an STD and try to proceed and examine them in their genital area. Okay. Another person says, moving out of compression zone, which deals with the book Compression that's available on the website. This person is referencing to when they say compression zone. Moving out of a compression zone plus meditation prayer has helped me stay focused and accomplish new things. I thank the astrological bundle for the locations report as well as following my heart. Everyone ought to do what they think is best for them in their situation, though. So she's referring to the astrological bundle that's available on the website. It is still discounted. It's half the price. Okay, the original sales price is like $1,100. Okay, it's half the price. It's like $550 right now. Okay, it's gonna go back to regular price soon. Okay, just a FYI to anyone who's listening. But in the astrological bundle, one of the charts, which you can buy separately, is what I call the astrolocation, and based on the continent that you want plotted, can tell you what are the best place, for example, employment, what are the best place for romance, what are the best place for relaxation. Okay, like literally, I'll be plotting the entire, let's say, United States. I'm plotting the entire United States against your energy, and showing you many different places that correspond to certain attributes that you may want to pursue. Okay, so for example, if you knew that in a certain area you have a high level chance of being gainfully employed and very prosperous, as long as you push forward there, but you have this is that you can push forward anywhere, but this place will give you like extra points in pushing forward. It will like help you push forward, right? In that geographical area, why not? Right? So that is available on the website, has been available now for about 2 years. So with that being said and done, I'm getting kind of hoarse here, as some of you may be able to tell. We've been on for about 3 hours now, so I do appreciate everyone tuning in. We still have a constant stream of people here, so I hope that this was a insightful and just pleasurable conversation to have with your global metaphysical family. Again, on Thursday night, early Friday morning, many products on the website will be on sale. So take heed to that. Other than that, keep sending in your questions, comments, and everything else. And when we have our next call, we will get into many of these questions and comments. So with that, I wish everyone well, and we will talk soon. Take care.